friends. My name is Alexis Sersha, and I welcome each and every one of you to the new series called Soul Vibes. And I'm really excited to be participating with you all, with each one of you in this very, in many ways, experimental series where we're going to go deeply into feeling and allowing our soul to present itself to us, to our awareness, to the consciousness. And so let's all come into this safe space that we co-create together. And whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this later, it matters not. You are just as present here. For within the soul, the time does not exist. Everything is now, everything is present, everything is available. And so as we, all of us, come into this space and we breathe, and we just feel ourselves in this space, in these bodies, in this situation, in this time in your life, where you are, where you find yourself, within the environment that you find yourself. For all of those are the raw materials that you work with, that you as a soul work with. And firstly, I would just like to sort of say a few disclaimers, if you will, that as I speak about the soul, I speak in this program very loosely. We're not going to go into technical definitions. We're not going to go into technical details between soul, master, I am that I am, consciousness perhaps a little bit, but even as I speak, it is very artistic, it is very poetic, because we are here to feel her, to feel your soul, to feel the presence. And so the definitions are for the mind, and it is important to have those kind of definitions and understandings and as well, and those are for other programs. But here we're just going to feel the presence, feel yourself within that presence. So that was one. The second one, also for all of us, we know that there really is no separation between human and soul. We all are both human and the soul. And yet for this experience, for this grand experiment, for this earthly walk, we have, as I am that I am, divided ourselves into the separate part and into the connected part, and we, for the purpose of experimenting and experiencing how they come together. For there is no greater joy for you as a soul to really perceive and see and harvest the wisdom of that journey of what it was like to be separate, and what it is like, all of the different steps along the way as to what it means to come back together again. And so there is no need to hurry. There is but there is but the enjoyment and the wonderment of the journey. For once you really are there, meaning here, meaning that you are feeling yourself as a soul, then you realize that you're okay to be at a beginning, because there's a part of you that's always at the beginning. Because if all is here, if imagine that you are yourself, you are this smorgasbord, this buffet table where the dessert, the main course, and in the the entree, they're all at the table at the same time. And so when you realize that, when you really feel it, when you experience it, then you realize that there is no hurry. There is no hurry to go from beginning to really be at the end quickly. For you always then have that option to perceive yourself as a whole, at the same time as perceiving yourself as this wondrous part that is experiencing this journey within the time, within the space. And so for many of us, for all of us that have been drawn to the soul vibes, we are experiencing this opening, this allowing to feel ourselves as a greater part as well, to step out of the confines of the mind. And for many, that it has been the biggest, it is the biggest step, and it can feel very frustrating. And a lot of the time, this frustration, of course, comes from not feeling those feelings of being whole, of being the whole smooth table, buffet table. You see, so because if you were to feel yourself that, but then there is no frustration for where are you in a hurry to go to when you have everything at your disposal as a soul. But for many of us, we do still operate within those confines of the mind, and we are not yet perhaps so aware of what it feels like. What does soul feel like? What does it feel like to be outside of the mind? And also another disclaimer is that I'm sort of explaining a lot of what I've experienced and all of the, the wisdom that I've gleaned from all of this and what I know. But because each one of us are so unique, my experiences and my explanations are really only as an inspiration to each one of you. It is not that these are exactly the steps that you experience or many of you have experienced, or that there is a certain way, okay, you have to experience one and then this and then this and then this. We each are so unique. We each are timeless beings, really, always. Even when we feel as a human being completely separate, we still are that timeless being. And so how our steps happen, it is very individual. And how you perceive yourself, it is very individual. So do not sort of look at this as, okay, I have to experience this, or as a comparison, but perhaps just as an exploration, as perhaps an invitation to open more and then to experience it in your own unique way. For this journey really is into each one of our uniqueness. There is no goal to become the same, anything but that. And so a big part of this journey is just to be okay with yourself, with where you are, with who you are, exactly where you are, because this is what I constantly keep coming back to this whenever I feel myself pulled into something else. I can be inspired. I can enjoy the interaction with other people, and that is why we are. There are many of us. We have friendships, we have partners, we have lovers, we have parents, children, all the strangers we meet, co-workers, all sorts of relationships, and yet you always have to come back to self, to this: I am who I am, exactly where I am. So you always come back, and you always come back to your own truth, to who you are, to how you perceive, to how you feel, to how you emote. For this, if there is a goal, this would be a goal, is this interaction between the soul self and the human self, which there are times when I feel myself as this inner oneness of myself, but then I also feel myself at the same time as many. And so there always is this human self, and it is this gorgeous part that is equal to every other part. there is this part of the soul self, which is also me, that is physical. And this physical part experience, it's like this human part I perceive as an instrument upon which the life plays, soul plays, music, and this music then invokes all these different feelings within this part of me that is human. And then as a soul, I perceive all of these feelings and emotions and nuances and richness and flavors, and this incredible sensuality that keeps expanding as the human self allows more and more of this soul presence. This keeps expanding and expanding into more different feelings rather than emotions also, but emotions have had a little bit of a negative connotation. So let's say feelings as to how I feel about anything that comes into my awareness. So whether it's another person brings that, whether it's something that happens in nature, whether it's something that happens within my own human self, whether it's something I see that is happening in the world, it is all these nuances and feelings. And sometimes this part is actually quite frustrating for human, because very often human doesn't want to know and feel all, especially those difficult feelings, you know, when you perceive someone suffering, or when you see hardship of the others, or when you perceive how I myself have been hard on myself. So these kind of feelings are not easy to feel, and for the human would rather in those times go unconscious. That means not be aware of these responses, of these feelings. But the soul is absolutely 100% consciousness, rather wants to know every nuance, everything about everything. And it doesn't judge. This part of me doesn't judge whether it is a good or intense feeling, or whether it is a pleasant feeling. There is a preference, if you will, for the human, definitely. And the human has all the freedom to choose how I perceive all the different things that come into my awareness. And so you kind of, as the soul self is more and more present, this essence, these particles, that I kind of explain it as in, let's say, inside I'm air, and there's more particles of soul, more and more particles of soul that I allow to be present in this reality, in this physical space of me, then more I lean towards self-love, to very self-gratifying experiences, self-love, self-nurturing, self-honoring. And it is not like some kind of a list to do, because the mind was always aware that it's trying to make itself better in this way, to make life more pleasant, more pleasurable, less fearful for the human self. But the mind wasn't capable, within its parameters, wasn't capable, because it wasn't its role to do that. And so it had all those lists and lists and lists of how to get there, when really it's not there that you're getting. It is always coming back to self, coming back into you. And so as we are discussing, feel the energy, feel yourself, feel and notice what you're feeling, what arouses within you, what gets awakened within you. For you have brought yourself to this place, and you are allowing this an awakening, this perception, this expansion of yourself from the mind into the greater self. And so feel all that comes to you. But one of the things that happens is that there comes a choice. I make a choice and I say, okay, I go deeper into this awareness. And that choice has, whenever I make that choice and I mean it, it has ramifications, instant ramifications for, of course, because being the creator that I am of my own reality, then straight away I will become aware of all of those things that are keeping my current reality in place, meaning feelings, emotions, attitudes, beliefs, resonance, all of these things. And this is also the part that the human oftentimes doesn't enjoy. And before you, or sometimes when people are not aware, they can think, oh my gosh, I'm going backwards, because all of a sudden it's like as if I'm faced with all these problems and issues and uncomfortable things, but it's not. You have made a decision, and all of a sudden it has been presented to you by your greater self what needs to change in order for the choice that you now made to become your reality, you see. So if you weren't the creator that you are, you would be able to go out there and ask someone else to do this for you. But because you are a creator of everything within your life, it is only you that can change and change those things, and then allow, of course, allow the new potential, the new reality to be part of you. And oftentimes for me, how it happens is when I make the choice or before a new potential, I actually can feel it. It's like I get this whole lifetime, and I feel it. And within that package, so to speak, there is everything about that potential, and it has a specific feeling, it has a specific resonance flavor, and then I have to make that flavor my reality, meaning that I have to breathe it, I have to be it, and I believe it. I own it, that it is true. Because unless I actually believe it, that it is true, this new potential is not going to manifest. It'll still be outside because I don't own it. This feeling, it is not outside of me really, but it just feels like it is outside of this human self. But we're getting ahead of ourselves really here. These are just some of the things that become, and for many of you, you already know them, and you perhaps just weren't aware that this is actually what that is. And so let's again come back to self. When we keep coming back to self and we keep reminding ourselves to come back to self. And so for me, when I made that big decision to really step out, and it's a long journey, but of course, to say, okay, enough is enough. I'm going to feel myself as a soul. I'm going to perceive, I'm going to allow this presence to be very conscious within my daily life. I made a choice and I meant it. And I was surprised myself as to how that, because normally in the past, I made all those kind of New Year resolutions and never followed through and all of that. But this time, the time came and I really meant it. And then straight away, the next step presented itself to me, and also all of the ability, the potential was there, and the ability and the time that I then implemented that, which for me at that time meant that I needed to spend 2 hours a day to just be with me. And for me, I went to nature, whether for someone else that could be music, for someone else whatever works for you. But I've just decided that every day for 2 weeks even, that I'm going to spend and just breathe and just feel. And it only really took, and I actually did, and it only really took 2 or 3 days when all of a sudden I became so aware of this presence that before that I didn't know that I had this ability to make it so real. You see, so it once that decision is made and followed through, and that you do things within that physical life of yours, then straight away things start happening. It is not that something is going to happen in a year's time or somewhere in the future, because remember, you are all in the now. The buffet table is all here available, but you must own it. And so as I owned that and I did what is necessary, then this incredible thing started happening and I became so aware. And the interesting thing about it is, which also I didn't know, is that with the awareness of presence comes also the knowledge of what is what. It's like, I know what this is. No one's, like, perhaps I read about it before, but there's so many nuances. No one told me. But everything, all this knowledge, all these abilities are within you already. But they need to be owned. And there needs to be a space within your life and a commitment, relentless commitment, uncompromising commitment to feel your soul, to perceive your soul, to understand yourself as a soul, that communication. And one of the things that is for many a challenge, because they feel, and I have received an email before with a question about this, I sometimes feel, and then there isn't. But then there can be a few weeks when I don't feel her, the soul part, the presence. This can be because there are lots of things happening, the intensities of the world. And it is also a natural process for when things are changing within you. It is sometimes, it takes a few weeks also for those changes to happen, and then you feel it. There's many reasons for why perhaps you're not so conscious about what, that you want to. But what is never far away is your ability to choose as a master, to choose the feelings, to choose how you want to feel. You see, there are certain, like the mind has certain ideas of what things have to feel like, or perhaps we read them in a book, or perhaps someone's, online, or perhaps we compare to another person. But when you feel that presence, and if you are also in that state where you're feeling yourself as oneness, then you don't feel the presence, because you feel yourself as one. You are the soul, you are the human, you are everything. But what happens is that as you are present with yourself, you get to know what is what. You get to know what's going on with you. You get to, this knowingness and communication from you to you happens. So you're not lost. So you always can just feel yourself at peace. You can choose how you feel. And you can decide, okay, whatever's happening, and perhaps I'm not feeling myself as a soul, or I'm not feeling that presence. So I choose to feel peace. Feel peace, choose it, own it, allow it in, let go of what is stopping you from what was making you not feel peaceful before. That has to go, and own that peace and be that peace. And you just step out of it, and what was before can just be here on the side. And you just keep choosing how you want to feel. If you want to feel yourself satisfied with yourself, feel that. What does it feel like? Feel it now. I feel satisfied, and feel it. Don't wait for someone to give you permission. Don't wait for some things to change. These feelings, because you as a master can choose these things, these feelings are available always. Because remember, go back to that table with a buffet. Everything is on it. What do you choose? You don't have to fulfill some kind of preconceived ideas. You just have to do those creatorship bits, which means you choose it, you feel it, you allow it in, and you let go of what you were doing before, how you were, what you were allowing in, what you were owning within yourself before. And there it is. You feel peace. You feel satisfied. And so very often, you see, each one of us who are here present, whether present now or whether you're watching this later, but participating in this, we're not beginners by any means. We are at this stage where we can choose this kind of things. We can choose and own and be. And this is mastery. This is mastery. And yes, sometimes doesn't work, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again until you become so good at it. And you see, this is the thing that can happen where you can feel like, oh, but I'm not feeling the presence. And you're then creating that, because you are the creator. You are then creating that experience. And so you feel, oh, today I'm not feeling the presence. So you're not feeling the presence because you're a creator. Whatever you choose, whatever you own is what you feel, what you experience. And then the next day comes, and again, oh, I don't feel the presence, because that's what you are choosing. And so at any moment, choose presence. I feel the presence. I am the presence. And then perhaps you're not feeling this presence like you felt it a month ago, 2 months ago, a year ago, because these things constantly evolve and change. And one of these incredible things about being in your own presence is that as a human self, you constantly change and evolve. And so how you're feeling yourself when you own that presence is going to be different now. And so be curious about this, rather than saying, well, I last week I felt it in this way, but this week I'm not now feeling it in this way. So this may not be so pleasant to feel anymore, but rather exchange that for, okay, so I know I have presence, I feel the presence, so I'm curious, how does it feel now in this hour? How does this presence feel today? You see, so you could change yourself from being closed to open, to curious, to childlike in a good way, childlike, which meaning that you are open to new, you are open to feeling new things all the time, and to accept those new things and not be stuck on, you see, because as a child, you don't have all those, as a human, we're looking at a human life now, you don't have those years of experience and those years of fixed ideas of how things should be. So this is how being with yourself as a presence again is, this kind of childlike wonder of the new. How is it feeling today? What is it going to feel today? And it is, this presence of your soul is so fine, and yet can be so, it is, what can be, it is so incredibly passionate, fierce, fire. And yet it is also water, it is also gentle, it is also as a wisp of the wind, of the finest wind. And so it is all that. And within that, perhaps let's feel now that can be helpful is imagine yourself as an ocean and a human self, a drop, one drop in this ocean. Feel yourself one tiny drop in this ocean of self. You see, so whatever you experience, wherever you be, whatever you do, you always are in the ocean of yourself. You cannot, it is not possible for you to be outside of that. So if you feel yourself disconnected, feel yourself as this calm ocean, and you're this drop that has a tiny membrane, just a very tiny membrane that was placed there, that was created there for you to be able to experience the life of a separate human. And that membrane, although it is very thin, it also the membrane itself is the ocean, is the soul, is I am that I am, whatever you call. And so it's not possible for you to really be separated. This is just an experience. It is just a perception. And so when you can change the way you look at these things, change the way you start looking at yourself, not just looking at yourself, but feeling yourself, then all the rest changes. And so feel yourself gently. This drop of individuality within this ocean, and know that even as you let go of this membrane of separation, you will always be individual, you'll always be you, except that you are then also have the benefit of the whole ocean of self, of all the other parts of your soul, whether physical or non-physical. And so this can help you to realize that it doesn't matter what your emotions say, it doesn't matter what the mind says. You are always part of you. You are you. You cannot be not you. And this is such a big change when you look at yourself in this way. And these kind of things have been around for a long time, and they feel like simplicity, and yet they are the most profound, most simple. And there is this incredible wisdom in this, because the wisdom is that you are all this is always available to you, to each one of you, to each one person. And that also can then help you with releasing feeling responsible for others in a way that is inappropriate. Because then you can know that also others also are swimming within their own soul. They're always safe, absolutely safe, always. They perhaps have different kind of experiences, and yet they were always within the wholeness of themselves. And so another thing that happens that can be a little bit of that barrier from feeling yourself as a soul has to do with this putting down of self. Putting, like it is within the mass consciousness, there is this idea that we are not, me as a person, I am not enough. I'm not perfect. I'm not this, whatever the culture says, whatever the society says. There are others, especially like perhaps on TV, all these perfect people out there, successful, all of these kind of ideas that we're just not enough. And because that 3D works on giving power away, it means that's what it's this kind of processes, of course, that give that power away. And one of these is to put self down, to put your experiences down, to put your perceptions down, to discount them, to devalue them, to make them insignificant, and you put them back into the back, like they become unconscious or just at the edge of consciousness. So for me, as I'm awakening to this perception of soul, to the presence of the soul, in very real experiential way, what always this aha moment is always like, oh, so that's what that was. You see, when I realized, wow, so that's the soul, I knew she was always there in my awareness. I just didn't know that that's what that was. So for example, when I became really aware of my feminine nature, or when I became really aware of my own masculine nature, they were always there. I just didn't know what that's what it was. I haven't noticed it. And somehow it was very much an ideal that I had, but I always projected that ideal onto the outside, onto other people or whatever. So the feeling that I had, the actual thing, I discounted, I devalued, I put it out down into the unconscious or just on the edge of awareness. And I discounted it and made it insignificant. I also didn't own it. I didn't make it mine. And so that's how you see this then perception of soul as something, as an outside is born. That's how those kind of that's how this mechanism works. It's through these things. So whenever I become aware of this another thing, and this is never over, this discovery, it's an ongoing. It's like, oh, so that's what that was. And then that I can allow to be then sacred, you see. And this is why is feeling, very often you'll find me saying things like, feel yourself magnificent, feel yourself sacred, feel yourself brilliant, feel yourself awesome. It is because then this is what then changes your own perception of things, because all of this of yourself, all of these things are already within you. They are already within your consciousness, within your soul, or all that is, however you want to state that. But we've been taught, in order for us to be able to feel separate, to put those things down in value, in significance, in awareness. And so they sort of go down into your unconscious. And so as I am becoming more and more aware of what is what within myself, then I become aware that, wow, so these are those things that are actually sacred. And then I start feeling them sacred. And then I realize that all my life, and so everyone else's, is sacred. There are no insignificant things. It is all miraculous. It is all incredible. Even, for example, if you ask your mind to study sacred geometry, music, all of these things, how the world, even when you have felt yourself the most separate, the most insignificant, the most worthless, how that experience itself is sacred because all of the components are sacred. And so much creatorship, so much incredible science and mathematics and all these kind of things goes into each one of those experiences. But to actually perceive that, we always go back to you. Each one of us has to feel these things and claim them and own them for ourselves. For otherwise, it will be just a theory. So feel like whenever you notice. So if there is a job in your daily life, so whenever you feel that you put down anything, whether it's a person that was the pain in the butt or the most whatever it is, even the most mundane task, it is incredible when you actually can perceive all the things that go into that, creating that experience for yourself. And so whenever you see yourself putting anything down, especially parts of yourself, that's when you notice, okay, I have to own that this too is sacred, and then feel it as sacred. Choose to look at it and feel it as sacred, and you will see how just those things, that simplicity of what each and every one can do, and I'm reminding that to myself as well, is how much that can then allow. You see, that it then changes, if you call it vibration, whatever you change it, the resonance, and all of a sudden you start perceiving everything as sacred. And so what you thought that before that it was insignificant, all of a sudden you realize, wow, that is my soul, that is my presence. And then from there, it then expands, and it keeps expanding, and it keeps expanding. And this is then the humor. The humor comes in because each one of us play this biggest joke on ourselves, because we play this game of separation, and you realize, wow, I've never been separate. It's the biggest joke on ourselves. And you know, if you feel that, and wonderful, but you can have a good laughter each day. You can have a good laughter about those kind of things. And so I know that you know all of these things, and I'm just giving words to the energies that we are collect together, creating this event that we are creating. And we've come together to experience this, to feel it. And it also shows that you that you have given yourself this commitment to wherever you are. You want the next stage, the next level of this soul presence, of this perception of the soul, of noticing, being aware how you as a soul are already 100% involved in your human life. And so it is not like this human was somewhere else out there, and then the soul is here, and then they come together, even though it does feel, the journey does kind of feel like that, and it is very cute, and it is very gorgeous, and it is very loving, and it is very beautiful how all of these things come together, and how you experience it. It's absolutely uniquely up to each one of you. And you know, that it can be wonderful, it can be inspiring, it can be so warm, it can be so joyful. And as I'm saying these things, feel them and inject them by allowing them into your life. And we need this kind of get-togethers in this world that is so troubled, that is so chaotic, that there's so much darkness is coming out. And so we're just here dancing in these beautiful energies that we've created together. And feel this joy, feel the lightness of being that is yours. Own it, be it, feel it. This is it. There is no need to study this big, heavy books and feel how that feels as I'm saying that. Those big, heavy books that promise that one day, if you know all the mysteries and if you solve all the puzzles of the universe, then perhaps you will feel the soul and feel the difference when you say, I am already this drop in the ocean of self, swimming within this warm embrace of my own soul, of my own being, of my own self. And I am just experiencing. I am on this most wondrous, most magical of journeys. And I'm experiencing coming back to self. And now let us feel the mind. What is it like to be in the mind? For you keep the mind. The mind can look at things, can look at the computer things, can look at the time, and it will work with that. And it can press the buttons, and it can add, and it can subtract, and it can feel itself within a very focused environment. Feel yourself as you are in your mind, and the awareness is kind of up here. And now feel yourself expand and allow the presence. Feel the difference. What does it feel like? It feels like you're okay to be where you are. It feels like everything is at your fingertips. It feels like all potentials are here. There's no worry. Well, you are the creator. You can create anything you want. You can choose anything you want. Everything is very open-ended. And now feel yourself come back again into the mind only. And now the mind can think, okay, today is Saturday. It can focus on a task at hand. It can switch on the computer. It can do all these wondrous things. And it can focus. And it can focus into your own physical reality. It doesn't have any view of the outside, what's behind it. It doesn't have a view or perception of the creator when it is just in the walls of itself. And if it was feeling itself by itself, it would worry because it has no idea of the future. It has memories of the past. It normally remembers the negative ones in order to try to protect you from those. It gathers information. It tries to analyze. It's analyzing how things work. And yet it can only look at things from within this reality. Imagine the car, a motor, any kind of motor, or any appliance. It can open up. It can look at all the bits and pieces, the physical bits and pieces, and can take them apart, put them together. It can feel the hardness of the matter, the solidity of the matter, and that's what it has to work with. And that is why it tries to collect all the information to keep it safe. It has no insight into another person, and so it is always a little bit suspicious of others, for it has experienced all sorts of things. And now again, feel yourself fall. For me, it feels like I fall into my body and then expand and feel how again worry makes no sense in this space, for everything is at your fingertips. All the abilities, potentials, it is all very open-ended. Fear makes no sense in this space, for you are the creator. You are the soul. You are this incredible I am that I am. Consciousness playing with energy. Feel this space, how different it feels. And if you can't feel it very distinctly, choose that this is what you want, and then allow it, and then do what is necessary, meaning take time for yourself and just keep bringing mind into this now moment, into this presence. When it tries to run into the future, when it tries to run into the past, when it goes into worries, concerns, when it starts listing what you're going to do next, what you have to do, what you've forgotten, what that person has said, all of those things, you just be determined, be uncompromising, and say, no, not today, mind. Today, I feel myself as a soul, and then feel it. And perhaps it is for only a few moments with that incredible clarity. And then I often get those kind, when I'm trying out something new, I can sometimes feel something for a millisecond, and yet I know it, and I know what it is. And then I know what I have to do, what I have to experience to be able to allow that feeling. And sometimes it does take a while, for certain feelings. There are certain feelings that are very available to me because I have cleared all of those barriers. There are certain things, especially these new things that I've not experienced, that may take a while to unfold. But when I have that millisecond of experience, of feeling, of knowing what it feels like, I got it. I know what it is. Then I know, then I can keep feeling that, and I keep feeling that. It's like, years ago, I didn't really know what it felt like to feel joy, to feel contentment. There are certain things I didn't know how to feel. And that's how I got these milliseconds of this feeling, and then I knew what it feels like. And then it was easier than to just keep allowing that feeling to remember, and okay, I'm going to feel it, and to allow that feeling to develop within me. And that is all it's really quite simple in this way. Now it is quite simple, because let's say if I want to feel anything, like we're talking about the soul vibes, I just think, okay, I'm going to feel the soul vibes. What does that feel? Let's see. And then I feel it, and then I just allow it to expand and flow in it, and experiment with it, and just allow it. It's like, I don't know how to like if I'm going for a walk in a forest, and there's all these different scents and light and shimmering. It's like that. Feelings are like that. And they just keep changing, but inside of me, I need to be free and have space. And the space comes as I allow more and more of my soul self to be present. Then all of a sudden I have more and more space, and more and more space. And of course, releasing and letting go of everything that was not compatible with this. It does take all of that kind of process does take. It took me about a decade of really, really intense work. And all of us here, we've been at this for a while. So, but now it's just this incredible space within me where all of this, it's like I'm cooking all these and flavoring all these different kind of feelings. It is just so deliciously wonderful to experience your life in this way. And that's how I'm experiencing it now. Who knows within what will happen within 1 year or whatever. And so, you just uncompromisingly keep choosing, keep allowing, keep doing what needs to be done, and keep choosing not the negative or positive, but remember you are a creator of your own experience. And that does carry that responsibility of, well, creating your experience. You are creating your experience. So you need to be really aware of how you form your what you're choosing, like what I mentioned earlier. If you're saying that I'm not feeling the presence today, that is what your experience will be. So when you notice that, you have to change those kind of perhaps choices of words, feelings, into I am feeling the presence today, but it's changed. So it is a little bit different. So that's one option. There's numerous options of how you can phrase this. And it's not the words, it is the feeling. So instead of I'm not feeling presence today, choose I am feeling the presence, and then feel that. And then feel that and notice how does that feel? Explore how that feels. I'm feeling the presence, but it's different today. See? So that's a much more open-ended or a much more enjoyable way to experience your reality, to experience your day, because I find that I always have to phrase things in this way with very open-ended, so that I allow that space, that openness, through which then this presence, this soul can come more and surprise me with new things, you see? Because if you say, I'm not feeling the presence today, you've closed the door. But if you say, I am feeling the presence today, how does it feel? You expectantly open the door, and then you can be surprised, and this can just be a first step to these incredible feelings that you as a human and you as a soul experience. And for me, for example, for me, I have names for different parts. I'm very aware of very many different parts of who I am. And so, for example, you know, for those that have worked, you know, with me before, you perhaps know I speak as Michael. I allow Michael to speak. So this is my master self, my soul self. And it is not this, it is not like a Michael spiritual family, although that was the part that I was. When I became aware of this presence of the soul, it has introduced itself to me as Michael. And for me, that now makes sense. There is a very particular feeling, being, presence that I feel when I know Michael has come into the foreground. There is much more to me, even than Michael. You keep going into the unnamed, unknowable, unnameable things, and that's fine as well. But what I'm saying is that there is this incredible freedom of how you organize yourself on the inside. And there is a little bit of a trap when the mind can actually, a person can still be very much in the mind, and think that they're actually doing the soul, and they have names and they have all sorts of things. But when you are in this space, you become very, very aware of when you are in the mind and you're just talking about, and things are just a theory, to when you're actually experiencing. So this is the real big difference, and this is the real big step when you are fully experiencing, not just sometimes, but always experiencing yourself as a human and as a soul at the same time, or perhaps not. All this is just, it's like a flow. It's a playfulness as to how, you know, you work this within yourself, and how then the reality reflects that. But you can name these parts of yourself, can come up with a name, and you will know. And sometimes the name changes, and sometimes it doesn't change. It matters not, but as long as you feel it. And so for some that perhaps are feeling something in others, perhaps you are feeling that presence within you, within me, of soul. Now feel and own that feeling. So let's say if you're saying that you're not really feeling it, you're feeling it in others but not in yourself. So change that around. Notice where you are feeling this presence that you think is inside of me, Alex. And realize that that feeling that you feel is you. It is your presence. You are just perhaps projecting it onto others. So when you're watching others perhaps, or interacting with others, and you think, wow, I can feel something that otherworldly, I can feel something, this energy about them. Realize that that feeling that you have, notice that feeling. You feel it about them, but know that that is the feeling inside of you. And that is the presence, your presence. For you're not really feeling me. You're feeling me within you. And own that, and allow that feeling to expand, to flow. Be curious with that feeling. Be playful with that feeling. And all of the things that we've talked about, because there's a variety of people that have joined. They can be for people who are fully aware of their presence, or who are just opening up to this. It matters not, for you are working with your own energy. And we are co-creating this space. We are co-creating this, and yet whatever you're experiencing, it's inside of you. And all of these feelings, they can be mature already within you. And for some, they are just new. And you're just beginning all this kind of exploration. And know that for each one of us, we always are at that buffet table, meaning that we're at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end, which matters not, for all is equal, for all is an experience, for all is valued equally, for all is sacred from the perspective of your soul self. And so nurture that like a gardener. Like a gardener cares for the garden. Nurture that feeling of sacredness. And you will notice how more and more and more you become aware of just how much that you already are, that you already feel, that you already perceive actually is sacred and soul. There is nothing of you in you, outside of you, that is not sacred, that is not of the soul. It is just that you've believed that, and you've discounted certain things perhaps. And now experience what it's like for those things to become gold. And so in this way, I, Alex, look at alchemy. We are the alchemists in this way of self, because what was perceived as rock, as within us, what was perceived as worthless, alchemize it, transform it into gold, into sacred, into infused with your soul self. Alchemize yourself. Okay, so I think, welcome again. I hope you enjoyed the first Soul Vibes. I wasn't quite sure how it's going to pan out. I never am with these things. I have perhaps certain ideas and then the flow just happens. And for me, it was a beautiful experience. I do hope you've enjoyed yourself as well. And I would like to invite you, I forget this bit, that if you feel like to perhaps send me some feedback so I can put on the website. Normally I put without, anonymous. And yes, until we work in this way, we play in this way, enjoy in this way, we meet in this way. So until that time, until next time, so enjoy your day. Namaste.